There are moments when the heart needs to speak louder than the mind, and in those moments, I find myself wanting to share the quietest yet most profound parts of my soul with you. It's not always easy to share the weight of what we're carrying, but there's a quiet power in vulnerability, in saying aloud what we've held in silence for too long. Sometimes we keep our feelings tucked away, buried beneath layers of words and distractions, but every now and then the heart demands to be heard, and the only way to honor it is by sharing those truths with others. In this moment, I realize that the most powerful thing I can offer is my raw, unfiltered self, the emotions and thoughts that have been swirling beneath the surface, yearning to be understood. There are places in our hearts that no one has ever seen, but there comes a time when we feel compelled to open those doors, to invite others in and trust them with the fragile parts of ourselves. It's only when we allow ourselves to be truly seen that we discover the depth of our connection to others. Today, I choose to share with you what lies beneath the surface. There's something profound about expressing what's been held within for so long, as though each word shared is a step closer to understanding ourselves and each other. Every experience shapes us, but it's the quiet, personal moment of reflection that bring us closer to our true selves. It's these moments I now choose to share with you. We often keep our deepest emotions hidden, afraid of judgment or rejection. But there's a freedom in allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to open up and speak from the heart. I've realized that sharing my innermost thoughts isn't a sign of weakness, but rather an act of strength, showing the world that I trust enough to let go and be real. The weight of untold emotions can become unbearable, but when shared with someone who listens without judgment, they no longer feel like burdens. They feel like bridges to understanding. Sometimes we need someone to listen, not to fix, but to simply witness our truth, to hold space for what's too difficult to say, and to remind us that it's okay to feel deeply. When we allow ourselves to be open and vulnerable, we not only release the pressure of holding everything inside, but we also create space for healing and connection. There are things I've never told anyone, parts of my journey that remain locked away. But today, I'm choosing to share those pieces, to let you see who I really am. It's through the act of sharing what's personal, what's painful, and what's beautiful that we find our true selves, not just for ourselves, but for those we love and trust. Sometimes the most healing thing we can do is speak out loud what we've kept buried within us. By sharing, we release the hold those thoughts and feelings have on us. I have come to understand that sharing my truth isn't about seeking sympathy or validation. It's simply about being real, letting you in on the parts of me I've kept hidden. In the quiet moments of reflection, when everything else fades away, I am left with the desire to share what lies deep within me, to open up and let my thoughts and feelings flow freely. There's an unspoken weight in keeping everything inside, and today I choose to release that weight by sharing my most authentic self with you. To speak our truth is to give voice to the parts of ourselves that have been silenced, to offer them a place in the world where they can be acknowledged and understood. I know it's not easy to share what's personal and raw, but there's something incredibly freeing in letting go of the fear and embracing the courage to speak our truth. Sometimes the hardest part isn't feeling the pain, it's sharing it, allowing someone else to see the parts of you that you've kept hidden from the world. It's only when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable that we create the space for others to do the same, building connections that go deeper than surface level interactions. There's a quiet strength in sharing what's buried beneath the surface, a strength that comes from knowing that even our most personal thoughts can lead to growth and understanding. Every thought, every feeling, every experience I've had has led me to this moment where I feel compelled to open up and share with you what has been locked inside for so long. Sharing my innermost feelings doesn't make me weak, it makes me human. We all carry burdens, and it's only by sharing them that we find the strength to let them go. There's a tenderness in vulnerability, a beauty in letting down our guard, and today I'm offering you the pieces of my heart that I've kept hidden for far too long. In a world where we're often taught to keep our emotions to ourselves, there's something profoundly powerful in breaking free from that expectation and choosing to speak our truth. Sometimes it's the smallest act of sharing, whether it's a quiet word or a moment of connection, that carries the most weight, reminding us that we're not alone in our experiences. There are moments when I feel the need to be seen, to be heard, and to share the thoughts and feelings that make me who I am. This is one of those moments. The thoughts and emotions that we keep hidden are often the ones that define us, and by sharing them, we can find a deeper sense of understanding and connection with others. We all carry secrets, but it's the act of sharing them that allows us to release their grip on us, to transform them from burdens into lessons and growth. Sometimes it's not the words that matter most, but the act of sharing them with someone who truly listens, creating space for healing and growth. I've learned that the hardest part of sharing something Deeply personal isn't the vulnerability. It's trusting that others will listen with an open heart and mind. Opening up about our inner world is never easy, but it's through that openness that we find connection, healing, and the courage to keep moving forward. When we choose to share our personal stories, we're not just revealing pieces of ourselves, we're offering a chance for others to see the beauty in our humanity. There's something freeing about speaking aloud what has been hidden in the corners of our minds, allowing the light of understanding to shine on what once seemed too difficult to face. Our deepest feelings are often the ones we are most afraid to share, but in sharing them, we free ourselves from the weight they carry, allowing us to heal and move forward. The process of opening up is never easy, but it's through that process that we find the strength to be authentic, to express what we've kept hidden for far too long. Sometimes, the hardest part of being vulnerable isn't sharing our emotions, but the fear that others won't understand. But when we take that leap, we often find more understanding than we expected. I've come to understand that it's okay to feel deeply, to have emotions that seem too much to bear, and it's okay to share them with others, to invite them into our most personal space. The act of sharing our innermost thoughts and feelings is not about seeking approval or sympathy. It's about expressing the truth of who we are in all our complexity. There are moments in life when silence is heavy, and the only way to ease its weight is by sharing what's buried beneath, offering our truth to the world. The deepest parts of our hearts often remain hidden, but in moments of vulnerability, we can choose to bring them to light, allowing them to be seen, heard, and understood. It's easy to believe that our deepest feelings are too much to share, but in reality, it's through sharing them that we find peace, healing, and connection. I've learned that there's no shame in sharing what's deeply personal. In fact, it's one of the most empowering things we can do for ourselves and for those who care about us. When we share our vulnerabilities, we create a space for others to do the same. And in that space, we find compassion, understanding, and a deeper connection. Sharing something personal isn't about the specifics. It's about the act of letting someone see you, of offering part of yourself in the hope that it will be accepted and understood. There's a certain kind of freedom in sharing what we've kept locked inside for so long, a freedom that comes from knowing that we no longer need to carry those feelings alone. Opening up isn't easy, but when we do, we allow ourselves to grow, to heal, and to find strength in the vulnerability that once seemed so scary. Sometimes we hide parts of ourselves because we fear they're too much for others to handle. But the truth is, the more we share, the more we realize we're not alone. In the quiet of our own thoughts, we can often feel like we're the only ones struggling. But when we share those thoughts with others, we discover the power of shared humanity. It's in the sharing of our deepest feelings that we find not only healing, but also a sense of belonging, a reminder that we are not alone in our struggles. The most profound connections are often built on the foundation of shared vulnerability, where both people offer their truth without fear of judgment or rejection. Opening up is an act of trust, and while it's not always easy, it's through that trust that we begin to understand ourselves and others more deeply. The hardest part of sharing is often the fear of being misunderstood, but the beauty of vulnerability lies in the courage to speak, even when the outcome is uncertain. There's something sacred about sharing what's personal with someone else. It's an act of intimacy, a way of letting someone into the most private parts of our lives.